Good morning. This is Kevin Kirkpatrick from the Avery Professional Group. Uh, I'd like to believe I'm an expert in healthcare recruitment. Um, it is Wednesday morning. I think it's the 8th of January. It is cold up here in Toronto, currently approximately minus 16, minus 22 Celsius for those of us working with people in the U.S. Just to be clear. So I thought I'd do kind of a weekly little quick session to talk about recruiting in healthcare and different aspects. I have been focusing predominantly on physician executives, chief medical officers, chiefs of staff, medical directors, assistant medical directors, and stuff like that. Um, After 20 years in recruiting physicians, it seems like a lot of the candidates that I've been working with are at the level that leadership is their next viable step, and I'm pretty passionate about elevating and working with leaders in healthcare. So it's an interesting fact because I've kind of realized over the last couple weeks that there's really two ways to recruit in healthcare, and I think it depends on the type of role and stuff like that, right? I find for clinical roles, let's call family physicians, right? I mean, it's a very big volume play because very few family physicians are going to make a change. So you've got to talk to 100 of them to get two that want to talk to you that might look at an opportunity. So it's a drastically different approach. It still has to be targeted, still has to be very specific to each individual, but it is a higher volume play. And what I've struggled with is that I am more of a laser focused type of guy. So the notion of um, messaging 100 people hoping that one or two will get back to you is it's hard for me to grasp at some points. Whereas the executive search and the specific individual role search that I do in a lot of cases is a little bit more laser focused, right? So you are looking for a chief medical officer in cardiology, and you're then looking for a cardiologist who has specific experience, and maybe you need them to lead a interventional group, so they're going to want to have experience with interventional cardiology, stents, and things like that, and having worked in a cath lab. But at the same time, they're going to want to have the leadership, financial acumen, team building acumen, communication acumen, and stuff like that, right? So in those cases, you're most often finding a list of those individuals in multiple locations and then doing very targeted outreach, right? Because they're you need to answer the first three or four questions they have before they're even going to consider having a call, right? And I'm working on a chief medical officer role, and it's been interesting because I think I've reached out to 45 people, and I have three candidates actively in the role, right? All with very specific skill sets that are aligned with what my client is looking for. So it's a bit of a different approach. So I think when we're looking at our recruitment strategies, we need to identify what it is that we are looking for. Also, what are the behaviors online? What are the behaviors in career paths for those? Um, and really develop a process for that, right? And sometimes I develop a 100 to 200 person list that we're going to do outreach for. So it might be specific interventional cardiologists in a specific state. Other times it's what I need to find a chief medical officer in a specific city that has specific clinical experience working at a specific sized organization, right? So there's different approaches for different things, but I think what I've found is interesting is if you look at recruiting in the long game, people that you start off talking to one way end up potentially being candidates of yours in the targeted approach as well, right? So a lot of the physicians I've been talking to for the last 20 years are interested in leadership roles. So it's quite a fun process because you're calling somebody you've known for a long time, and having a very uh, fulsome discussion on what it is that you are looking for, what that organization needs to accomplish. It's less about buzzwords, more about objectives and goals. So it's a pretty interesting thing. So, um, and then the beauty for us is we also dovetail our executive search with onboarding support, assessments prior to selection, and then ongoing coaching as well, right? Because the notion is quality over quantity. So often when we place a physician leader, we pair that with coaching for several months with a physician leadership coach that allows that placement and that hire to have some support structure while they transition into a new organization. Often our clients don't want that because they have the tools themselves, but in some cases, it's nice to have that exterior voice to help you specifically. It's not leadership development in the sense of, take this course towards an MHA. It's coaching and very specific. So, yeah, so that's kind of my chat for this lovely Wednesday morning. If you are in Canada, stay warm. If you're in the US, stay safe. If you're specifically in California, stay safe. Um, and if there's anything I can do for anybody in my network, even if it's just to have a conversation and talk strategy, I'm happy to do so. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my number is 840-788-4530. Have a great day.